and I'm with Samia and Eduardo, and we are the little group that could. And we have named ourselves M2CD, and it's multidisciplinary, multilevel, multi-level curriculum development. And what ties us together, we're actually all bioengineers. So we're teaching bioengineering in different types of departments, chemical engineering, biomedical engineering departments, but we're all teaching to students with different backgrounds and at different levels. And we're trying to not only that, but teach an interdisciplinary subject. I'm teaching tissue engineering, we have physiology, we have medical diagnostic development. So we have different classes, but our tying theme is interdisciplinary topics to interdisciplinary students. And our big ideas, and I know you can't read this, and we can post them later as slides, but I will read them to you, is our 3 big ideas for implementation. So our questions were, how are we going to be effective teachers to these students? How are we going to engage all of these different types of students throughout the class period, not have the biology students go, oh my God, basic cell biology, right? And how do we teach the many different areas to these different students and keep them engaged and keep them interested? And so that was one of our goals. We also wanted to make sure we had writing and communication components. And then how are we going to teach people to interact and be professional and development and think of their role in the development of ideas. And so to do that, because if you've been in bioengineering classes or if you've been with people who are perhaps not as excited about implementing bioengineering in their schools, sometimes it can be, where's the engineering? And so end projects can come out of bioengineering classes, or really any of our classes, that maybe don't have a full engineering component, or the students don't understand the difference between engineering and science, or engineering and basic science. So our first big idea was centered around how do we get our students to recognize the engineering components of the projects that they're working on. And in order to do that, and this follows actually extraordinarily well from the talk before, because we're going to actually use their websites, because there's a number of repositories and databases that we want to develop. And one of them is to provide examples. And this is look at history and say, examples, say this is the engineering component of the development of this technology that you're all aware of, and this is how it impacted society. We then want to go ahead and implement in class examples where we give them a scenario or a project, and they start to recognize what's the engineering component in this project. In order to do that, we thought sharing these resources across bioengineering classes would be very helpful. From there, we also want to include all future work that they put in, that they're going to identify what's the engineering component and what are other components in their projects. Our next big idea was to train and incentivize students to provide constructive peer review on class projects. This is multifold in usage. One, we're going to increase their ability to communicate with each other, understand their own projects, but we're also going to use them to review, so it's somewhat time-saving for us in the end. And from that, we also want to develop a database of calibration papers. What's a good proposal? What's a bad proposal? What's a well-written paper? What's a poorly written paper, right? Sometimes the poorly written things can be difficult to find, and so if we can share those resources and continue updating them, that would be very, very helpful. We also want to develop a website with online resources as well as reviewer templates. So for students to go to, oh, I have this project, I need to review this person's paper. How do I do that? We have this website that says, look, there's all these tutorials. We also want to come up with something, we just thought of it as a piece of paper, but I kind of phrased it, the pocket reviewer. Oh, kind of how you always bring up the NSF review criteria when you're looking at an NSF proposal. Well, kind of your pocket review guideline. And then finally, instructor-student provide feedback to the students. So we're going to provide feedback to the students on their reviews, but we also want the the students who were reviewed to provide feedback on their reviews. So that way the students will learn from each other. Oh, I thought I gave a great review, but I didn't actually. So what could have made this better? And as well as providing some incentive, because our goal was to actually have the very good reviewers, the people who put the effort in and did very well, they're then actually going to be excused from the next review. So they're not going to have to write the next review, but they're actually going to act as consultants. So they'll go around and help other people do their reviews, but they don't have to write one up. So there's an incentive to work and become a better reviewer. And then finally, our third big idea is engaging across experiences and interests. And so we want to develop learning tools. And this is where the database will actually become very useful, because what we've all found is there are fundamentals in this class, some science fundamentals that are necessary in order to teach bioengineering, but we don't necessarily want to spend the time in class telling them what a cell is or telling them what a polymer is. And that if we developed screencasts, they've been called, or short videos on fundamentals, we could even offer them to the students as in, this is, if your background is weak in this area, look at these fundamental classes. And that can bring everybody up to the same level so that you can then start looking at actually applications and engineering in the classroom instead of looking at the basic science. And of course, having a website, or as the paper said, the website, the FOE website or BMES, and we had some discussions about pluses and minuses for all of them. We also thought it would be useful to have lecture materials, as we've all talked about. Implement student-led discussions on specific topics. This was another way to get information across. If we have students who are very good in one area, maybe they should lead the lecture in that area to the students who are perhaps not as good. Another thought that we had was actually reverse it and say we have our engineers give the cell biology lectures and see how that goes, see how the feedback is and how the lectures are. And then finally, I have to take this, assign multi-level, multidisciplinary groups, right? So in our classes, we have all tried to look at groups that went from maybe juniors to advanced graduate students, from School of Medicine people to mechanical engineers, all in the same group, and do that, but do it very intentionally, looking at such things as their strengths, the SWOT analysis, but also interests, as well as time availabilities. So, did I miss anything? No. So again? All right, so that's us. We are interested, like I said, in combining our resources for bioengineering programs, because there are a number of things that are needed kind of across the board, no matter what topics we are looking in that area. And how can we get these fundamental things out to the bioengineering community in order to share them, make our work easier, and make learning better, because our goal is to have every single student in our class, no matter what their background or what their educational level, to benefit from being in that class. So thank you. So they'll take questions now.
I love the idea of students reviewing other students' work. The one caveat I have is those students that are giving the good reviews that's going to improve everyone else's writing. You're now taking them out of the next realm to improve the writing further the next time. So you're kind of self-defeating the improvement of the student's writing. I love the reward, but could we find a different reward so that everyone's writing continues to improve?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, and we also stuck upon that, and we wanted to give them points. But then this would make a little challenging, because everyone wants to do a good review and get out of it, so that motivates them to do some reviewing. So other ideas are welcome. Yeah, you want to add something?
This is why we added them back in as a consultant, because our fear was, look, we're losing our best reviewer. But then they get to consult, but they don't have to be the ones to go up home and write it up.
Yeah. And we We also are planning to use some tools that actually, so the whole idea is also to build up in your reputation as a good reviewer. So, and that will go across the different tiers, because it's not only for sophomore or freshmen, but will go with you as a reputation as a good reviewer. And you know, they also learn that in the end, what we are across to all the years of our career, reputation is really important. So they start already to give value to that and take that as a professional step towards their future step as engineers.
Hey, I do this in my sophomore lab class. I have students peer review labs, and I've been doing it for a couple of years. And I'm with Nick, right? That yeah, I don't think you ought to take the best reviewers out. And what I find is that the students who are very good at reviewing don't need any external incentive to do it. They are generally good writers themselves, and I've created rubrics so that I can grade peer reviews, or my TA can. You know,
We'll be happy to, if you can share with us.
So yeah, and part of the grade for the lab is how well how completely they provide peer reviews anonymously for 3 of their classmates. I use either the built-in peer review features of Turnitin software, or now we've gone to Canvas as our learning management system. That has a built-in peer review feature as well, although it doesn't allow anonymous reviews. But the students who are very good at reviewing, they go way beyond what is required for full credit on the review. So if I say you need to answer these 4 questions and you need to give some extended feedback of at least 15 words, something good about the report, something bad about the report, and then make at least 10 comments directly on the paper, you know, this is a bad caption, you're missing a figure, whatever it is, they will go way above and beyond that. And so actually what I would love to do if I had more time, or an automated way of doing it, is get those reviewers, those peer reviewers, assigned to the worst writers in the class. And I haven't had time to go in and manually work that out for my courses, but and also to assign the poorest writers to review the best writers, because then they're seeing examples of what a really good report looks like.
Yeah, thank you. We discussed about that. We talk about that, and but we also we discuss different alternatives and different strategies. The way how we also end up going with this suggestion and this idea, and again, it's a suggestion, was that actually, you know, if that person is a good reviewer, he should, or that person should disseminate why is a good reviewer. And actually the consultant aspect is really good in that way, because then will help others to be good reviewers, because in the end I think we all can be good reviewers if we are trained to. So I think it's taking advantage, also bringing even more responsibility. They go above. So there's reviewers, good reviewers, consultants, and then the consultants will spread the knowledge down. So that's one idea that we came. There is others, and yeah, we discussed about that. Yeah, that's one challenge. We need then to check how good is their review. That is the challenge, and we also discuss about that. It brings a little bit more work on us, but I think overall we will all profit.
You do make the point. Part of ours the idea we were having was include that this aspect would be an in-class part. It would be the development of peer reviewers. And you're right, we might have one that doesn't have that component, and we haven't thought about this, but an external one that kind of gets the work done more, but an internal one that is a more reviewer development type thing. Thank you. Keep talking.
So I was just wondering, does anyone, I don't know if you all or anyone else in this room know whatever happened to Vanth? Right, because they, in theory, were supposed to do a lot of this stuff, but it just sort of,
Do you know Vanth?
I just want to know for my own, when I'm writing my own grants, like where did they go?
You know, I went to the last Vanth symposium on undergraduate curriculum development. So it's a number of institutions that got together, and they got a large I know it was Vanderbilt, Northwestern, and they, was it a MRSEC or an? No, it wasn't a, what was it? What kind of? Oh, yeah. Well, they got a large NSF grant to put together, and some of these grants wants to bring together consortiums for research. They actually got one together for educational research. And it was, what, a long-term project to develop biomedical or bioengineering education. And they were doing a great job, and they had great resources. And now I can't find them either, actually. Like I said, I went to the last symposium on undergraduate bioengineering curriculum development, and then I haven't seen anything since. I've done searches for them. Perhaps this should not be recorded. But as far as, has anyone seen any? Because I haven't, and I have looked for some of my grant development and some of the writing I'm currently doing, but no, I have not. Oh, sorry, Texas at Austin. We think you're great and your curriculum development was wonderful.